we have Neill WYLIE from SCTU also, who is going to talk about using digital learning to foster digital competencies of basic skills teacher. Neill, as with Colm, I'll let you introduce yourself and I give you the floor.
Thanks very much. So my name is Neill WYLIE and I'm a learning technologist at the Southeast Technological University. So a colleague of Colm's, and I'm just bowled over by his presentation. I actually did a session on the tutor stack and it's so complex and so much thought went into it that we're really, really proud of it. So well done, Colm. So the presentation I'm going to show you is actually a project that your esteemed colleague Balázs Németh is a part of. So I hope to see him in a couple of weeks when I'm in Barcelona. But it's under the Digital Solutions for Access to Basic Skills training. And what we've done in this project is created micro-credentials for basic skills development across Europe. And I'll take you through a couple of these elements and the outputs and give you the rationale and talk about a couple of challenges. So I've only prepared 4 slides, so the slides are quite busy, so forgive me for this. So it's an Erasmus Plus project, and it's the European Basic Skills Network Professional Development Series project. And the aim of the project is to collaboratively develop continuous professional development for basic skills teachers to support policymakers and stakeholders involved in implementing European Commission's upskilling pathways recommendations. And the project has various outputs, which I'll go through at the moment. And it does target a novel, its strength is that it's using a novel approach to develop CPD for basic skills teachers, which I'll touch on in a moment. So the outputs are one desk research, which was taken as the first work package, where we did SETU took the lead in this work package as well. And we looked at kind of European policy in upskilling for basic skills teachers and what the European Union is saying, what the Commission is giving out, and what's happening at a regional level for all the partners. So from this desk research, a certain number of teams emerged, which we presented to all of the partners, and then the partners selected 6 teams based on importance in their context. So from these 6 teams, we developed 6 online micro-credentials and 6 open educational resources, which can be used as well, and 2 project publications. So I'll touch on these in a moment to give you a bit more detail on them. So the project goals were basically to upskill basic skills teachers in a novel way and with small, focused and specified online courses. So as you can imagine, there is a lot of research into basic skills development and a lot of resources available to these teachers across Europe. But there was a massive difference in the resources that were available, for example, in Hungary, Norway, Malta, and Ireland, which were the partner organizations. So we thought that kind of the micro-credentials approach, the online course approach, would kind of bring equilibrium to that and allow everybody within these nations to access the same research in an engaging way. So basic skills is defined as kind of literacy, numeracy, and digital skills, and that's the definition we're using. You guys should know all about that, and are critical to a fairer, more inclusive society. So the project partners were SETU, ourselves, Progress Consult, which is a Hungarian consulting company that works very closely with EBSN, NALA, which is the National Adult Literacy Agency here in Ireland, Pécs University, which Balázs, as you know, is a member of, Folkeuniversitet in Norway, and the government of Malta, their Ministry of Education, Sport, Youth Research and Innovation. And each of these partners took 1 or more work packages. So the work packages, the desk research, as I mentioned earlier, this is when we came up with the teams. So we arrived on 12 teams that were kind of founded in research, and that was important to add an element of a robust nature to the research. Instead of just, say, surveying people, we wanted to go back to the research and see what was being done from the European level and what was coming out of each of the partner nations. And that gave us 12. And then we all voted on which ones were most important, which we landed on 6, which we used to create the micro-credentials and OERs. So my role in the project was the lead content developer for all of the micro-credentials and the OERs. And to do this, I held workshops and worked with each of the partners in developing these micro-credentials. So each of the partners will have taken one of the topics of the 6, and I would work with them and co-create and get information and work closely. So at the moment, I'm working closely with Balázs and one of his colleagues on the micro-credential that they're producing. And it wasn't without its challenges, and I'll go into that in a couple of moments. The piloting phase came next, where we had 4 completed micro-credentials, and we put them through a piloting phase where we got them implemented on the learning management system, which was Brightspace, and we opened that up to a select audience from several of the European countries of around 15 people for each micro-credential, and they worked through it with facilitators facilitating and using live webinars and having the discussion Fora and all the elements of an engaging online course. And then we got the data from that, and we evaluated the data at our partner meeting just in October gone. So the implementation phase is the phase we're in at the moment, and that's where we're going to use the teachings of the pilot phase and the data to redesign the micro-credentials and see where we can improve them based on this feedback, using facilitator feedback and also learner feedback, working with NALA, who are giving us Brightspace, which is their learning management system, and to see how we can make them a little bit better before we release next spring. And dissemination is happening as well at the moment, and this is actually our first dissemination event, so thanks a lot for letting me present today. And our release is going to be in March 23. One of the important phases of this project is recognition, and how can we recognize these micro-credentials across the European partners. So we all know, those of us who work in higher education, the question of accreditation is quite sticky, because in most universities it'll have to go through a process where the registrar will get involved and quality assurance will have to be sought and this sort of thing. So at the minute we're exploring potential pathways to accreditation and what will be needed to have these accredited over several universities. The final stage, as most Erasmus Plus projects will have, is sustainability. So how can we get this project and make sure it has a shelf life more than just, you know, sitting on an LMS in our university and only feeding it back to our students. So we're looking into the plan that how can we make this available long term. So of course, NALA can't be expected to host these micro-credentials on their platform, you know, after the duration of the project. So this is where we're at the moment. And one of the ideas is to have it on a project website and have these micro-credentials to be self-paced, so that people can work through in their own time. So in the phase where we had to develop the micro-credentials, I used the Carpe Diem process, which you may be familiar with, which is a collaborative online course designed by Gilly Salmon, which is excellent for when you're designing online courses. This is such a good way if you have a team of people doing it with you. So you have your subject matter experts, you have your learning technologists, and you may have a couple of people who are back doing the edtech work at the back end. So it has 6 phases. The blueprint phase, where you come up with your blueprint of your course and you create your persona. So within these micro-credentials, we were dealing with shifting personas. So if I was developing a course here in Ireland, I would know exactly what the persona is, but I didn't really know the Norwegian persona, the Maltese persona, the Hungarian persona. So this was definitely a challenge where we had to try and filter all the content through these personas. So what level of detail do we give? How much extra resources do we give? What education level do we assume the participants to have? So this was a challenge, but one we've hopefully surmounted. The second phase is use storyboard. You can see an example of a storyboard at the bottom right of my screen. So this is when you kind of visually represent the course, and you look at Bloom's taxonomy and see, well, look, assimilating activities, reading, watching, thinking, they're the passive ones. How do we get more of the green, blue, and dark blue ones? And if we can get a couple of orange ones where they're experiencing something, all the better. So this was very important to kind of visualize your course before you go to building the prototype, which happens on LMS Brightspace. The reality check for us was the pilot phase, where we certainly were reality checked. We were reality smacked in some cases there, but we took all these learnings with a positive view and were able to kind of review and adjust. And at the moment, we're planning our next steps. So constructive alignment, which most of you involved in education will know, it can be a pain, but it's also something important that you should do when you're looking to create an online course, not just an online course, but specifically for these micro-credentials. It was important. Going towards accreditation, we have to make sure that what we're saying will be done in the course, that we can actually achieve what learning activities will help us achieve these goals and how will it be assessed. So that was certainly things that we took into consideration. So this is the micro-credential blueprint, which I developed, which was just a basic overview of how the micro-credentials would look. So we are having, after the pilot, we decided to go with 4 units over 8 weeks, Whereas before the pilot, we had 4 units over 4 weeks with 1 week grace at the end. And a lot of the feedback that came back was telling us, look, there's too much work here. I have a busy work life. I have to have more time. So now we're doing 4 units over 8 weeks, roughly the equivalent of 1 ECTS, so around 25 effort hours. And each of them has a standard introduction, a welcome video infographic, talking about hours, effort, expectations, assessment, and quizzes. And then each of the units will have a welcome video, welcoming to that specific unit. Content in the units of the micro-credential in terms of videos, blogs, texts, all these sort of things, we're pinning to around 5 effort hours. Each unit will have 2 moderated discussion forums where people can come in and discuss peer interaction, but also facilitator-led discussions. 2 quizzes of 5 questions each, a facilitator-led webinar then as well. So we're going to have 3 of them in the new rendition, and previously in the pilot we just had 2. And you can see then an example of what the diversity and intercultural one looks like on Brightspace, and the approaching digital teaching and learning one on Brightspace, where you have your 4 units there. So that's pretty much it. I just want to thank the whole team who were helping us out in this project. I'm getting the chance to present here today, but there was many more people in the background who helped us get this project off the ground, and we're really looking forward to spring when we can launch officially, and perhaps we can tie in with you guys when we do, if you might have an audience for us as well. So thanks very much, guys, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Thanks a lot, Neill. There are a couple of comments and questions in the chat if you want to look at it. It's from Michael.
Okay, the micro-credentials thought of becoming a business after your project lifetime. Do you think of adding those achievements to Europass? Absolutely, Michael. We're just thinking how we could do something like this. We have had some information from a couple of bodies around Europe who would like to use them. So for me, it's all about open access. Like I've made sure that we had a license, a Creative Commons 0 license for these micro-credentials, so that all the material can be reused, revised, and adapted. So in terms of becoming a business, I'd rather just let people use it for free.
I'm completely with you. The only question that I'm asking, and that's the second head that Pascal mentioned, the big four, the ECQA means the European Certification and Qualification Association. That means we're dealing with kind of how to certify kind of units, elements, access on EQF level on our daily lives. And we are part of a lot of European projects, and all of them thinking until the end of the project. And then there's a lot of training material there. There's a lot of MOOCs there that needs to be run, and typically that costs money. And so there is nothing wrong in going on a free basis for that. But at the moment, when you say even after the project lifetime, you want to have those discussion forums where people moderate it, you need to pay those people. And that means you need to have the money either by the university, which kind of is a discussion within universities, I know, or you make kind of a business. So you offer the MOOC for free, but if they want to have discussion forum, they pay extra for that, a small fee. And that's the same for the certification. That means as you have your quizzes, you can have a certification. What we're dealing at the moment is the issue of linking these certificates or micro certificates or badges, whatever you want to name it, automatically to the Europass or to a LinkedIn profile, which is not as easy as you would thought that it should be.
Absolutely, and I worked with the edX platform for quite some time as well, where you had the audit access and you had the paying access, so access to graded or non-access. So there's certainly a couple of models we can look at, but I hope it does, because so much effort has gone in and there's so much good quality material there that if we can't get it out, that would be a real bane. And we looked at statistics for research papers. So the average read of a published research paper is frighteningly low, as I'm sure you might know. I think it's around 10. So for a MOOC, I've worked with researchers before who wanted to use a MOOC to get their work out there. So we're hoping that people consume MOOCs like they consume online media as opposed to educational resources. So we're hoping that we can jump on that. But I really appreciate your comments, Michael. Thanks for that.
You know, I'm there. If you want to have a chat about it, I'm feeling free to contact me, because I'm always kind of asking silly questions, because that's what I can do best. I'm a lecturer.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Michael. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So I think we are coming to an end, but before we part ways, I'd like to thank you very much, the 3 presenters, Michael, Colm, and Neill. Thank you so much for your great presentations. thank you for all the, thank you to all the people who attended this this first week. It was a really nice event. And thank you so much to the UCAN Secretariat, which made it all possible. And so see you next week, same day, same time, and look forward to see you all there.
Thanks very much, guys.
Have a great evening. Huh?
See
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.